Welcome back to Top 10 Amazing Facts. Have you ever looked at the vegetables on your plate and thought, these must be straight from nature? Well, not exactly. Just like many fruits, a lot of the vegetables we eat today are not what they used to be. Over thousands of years, humans have engineered, bred, and reshaped them. Some are so heavily modified that their wild ancestors would be almost unrecognizable. Today, we're looking at 10 vegetables that were genetically engineered or dramatically changed by humans through selective breeding, hybridization, and in some cases, modern genetic modification. Before we dig in, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another Amazing Facts video here on Top 10 Amazing Facts. 1. Corn. Let's start with one of the most engineered plants on Earth. Corn. If you could time travel back thousands of years to see corn's wild ancestor, a grass called teosinte, you'd hardly believe they were related. Teosinte had just a few hard kernels in a small, tough casing. Nothing like the big golden cobs we enjoy today. Ancient farmers in Mesoamerica began selecting plants with slightly bigger kernels, slightly softer casings, and better taste. Over many generations, those tiny changes added up, and teosinte gradually transformed into maize, with long cobs and rows of soft, starchy kernels. Modern corn has gone even further. It has been selectively bred for sweetness, for popping, and for huge yields used in animal feed, oil, and biofuel. Some varieties are also genetically modified in the lab to resist pests or tolerate herbicides. The corn on your dinner plate is the result of thousands of years of human engineering, both traditional and modern. 2. Carrots. Carrots weren't always bright orange. The earliest carrots, grown in Central Asia and the Middle East, were purple, yellow, or white, often woody and bitter. Over time, farmers selectively bred varieties that were less tough, more flavorful, and more colorful. The orange carrot is believed to have been developed in the Netherlands around the 16th to 17th century. Dutch growers bred yellow and white carrots together, gradually intensifying the orange color. The carrot we know today, sweet, crunchy, and bright orange, is absolutely a human creation. Its color, shape, and flavor are the result of centuries of careful selection, not a gift straight from nature. 3. Broccoli. Broccoli is one of the clearest examples of man-made vegetables through selective breeding. It didn't grow this way in the wild. Instead, it was created by farmers in the Mediterranean region using a wild plant called wild mustard. By choosing plants with larger, tighter flower clusters and thicker stems, farmers gradually developed what we now call broccoli, a plant that is basically a cluster of immature flower buds that we harvest before they bloom. What's even more amazing is that this same wild mustard plant was used to create several of the vegetables on this list. Broccoli is just one branch of a huge family of engineered vegetables that all started from the same ancestor. 4. Cauliflower. Another member of that wild mustard family. Cauliflower was created when farmers selected plants with dense, abnormal flower heads, a kind of natural mutation where the flower clusters are compact and pale. Over many generations, those traits were exaggerated until the plant produced the familiar white curd we recognize as cauliflower. Today, humans have pushed the engineering even further, creating purple, orange, and green cauliflower varieties through breeding and cross-pollination. So, when you see that big white cauliflower head in the supermarket, remember, it's not a natural flower at all. It's a highly engineered form of wild mustard, sculpted by human hands. 5. Cabbage. Another surprising invention from the same wild mustard ancestor. Instead of focusing on the flowers like broccoli and cauliflower, ancient farmers along the European coasts selected mustard plants with thicker, more tightly packed leaves. Over time, the leaves began to curl inward and form a dense, layered ball, what we now know as a cabbage head. Different regions bred different shapes, sizes, and colors, giving us everything from green cabbage to the deep purple varieties used in salads and slaws. So, cabbage, too, is not a wild plant, but a man-made reshaping of a simple coastal weed. 6. Brussels sprouts. Love them or hate them, Brussels sprouts are another product of human design. And yes, they also come from that same wild mustard plant. Instead of selecting for big flower heads or huge central leaves, farmers in what is now Belgium began selecting plants with tiny cabbage-like buds growing along the stem. Generation after generation, these buds got tighter and more compact until they became the miniature baby cabbages we call Brussels sprouts. In more recent decades, breeders have even engineered sweeter, less bitter varieties, which is why modern Brussels sprouts often taste better than the ones people remember from childhood. From a wild mustard weed, humans created a whole new vegetable that grows as dozens of tiny heads on a single tall stalk, a perfect example of how far selective breeding can go. 7. Kale. We're still not done with wild mustard. Kale is yet another form of the same species, engineered in a different direction. This time, farmers selected plants with large, tender, ruffled leaves rather than tight heads or flower clusters. Over time, this gave us the curly kale, Tuscan kale, and other leafy varieties that have become famous as superfoods. All those deep green, nutrient-packed leaves owe their existence to centuries of humans choosing plants with bigger, tastier foliage. When you put broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and kale side by side, it's hard to believe they were all engineered from the same wild plant. But they were. Human hands turned one weed into an entire aisle of vegetables. 8. Potatoes. The humble potato is another vegetable that has been heavily shaped by humans. Wild potatoes, native to the Andes Mountains of South America, came in many colors and shapes, and many of them contained bitter or even toxic compounds. Indigenous farmers began selecting varieties that were less poisonous, starchier, and more filling. Through centuries of careful breeding, they developed potatoes that could be safely eaten and stored through harsh winters. When potatoes were later brought to Europe, they were bred again for local climates, disease resistance, and yield. Today, we have a huge range of engineered potato types, from fluffy baking potatoes to waxy salad potatoes, and even specially bred varieties for making chips and fries. The modern potato is a long-term collaboration between nature and human ingenuity. 9. Tomatoes. Botanically, tomatoes are fruits, but in the kitchen, we treat them as vegetables. And they've been heavily engineered either way. Early wild tomatoes were small, sour, and often closer to berries than the large, juicy tomatoes we slice onto sandwiches. Farmers in Central and South America started selecting plants with bigger, sweeter, juicier fruits. Later, breeders in Europe and around the world refined tomatoes even more, creating cherry tomatoes, plum or Roma tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, and countless colorful heirloom varieties. Modern commercial tomatoes are even bred to ripen more slowly and withstand long transport, sometimes at the cost of flavor. In recent decades, some varieties have also been genetically modified to resist viruses or pests. 10. Eggplant. Wild eggplants looked nothing like the big, glossy purple vegetables we see today. They were small, often white or yellow, and covered with spines on the stems and even on the fruit itself. Some still are, if you visit certain wild or heirloom varieties. Farmers in Asia spent centuries selectively breeding eggplants to become larger, smoother, less bitter, and spineless. They also bred them into different shapes and colors, long and thin, round, striped, deep purple, green, and even nearly black. The large, shiny purple eggplant you see in grocery stores is a carefully engineered vegetable, transformed from a spiny, bitter wild plant into a smooth, versatile ingredient used in dishes all over the world. Bonus vegetable, bell peppers. They're part of the same species as hot chili peppers, but humans engineered them to be sweet instead of spicy. Originally, all peppers contained capsaicin, the compound responsible for heat. Farmers began selecting plants with less capsaicin, eventually creating varieties with no heat at all. Over time, they also bred peppers for different colors: green, red, yellow, orange, even purple, along with thicker walls and sweeter flavor. So that crunchy, sweet bell pepper in your stir-fry is actually the result of humans taking a fiery chili and slowly breeding the heat right out of it. And there you have it, 10 vegetables engineered by humans plus a bonus. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future amazing facts countdowns. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.